Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take another look here at Bitcoin today, of course, see what's going on since yesterday. Obviously, we got a nice solid green candle here, and we're going to find out what's going to happen next, if at all possible. Now, if you're new to the channel, I am not a financial advisor. I just love teaching people how to trade. I hope you can learn something here today, of course, and obviously, if you do, let me know, comment below. It'd be wonderful to hear from you. Also note, I have a trading community. Link in the description below. CryptoCache Premium essentially allows you to have access to my signals that I send out for every single trade that I take. My trading academy, I just rolled out with that a week ago. Of course, really awesome feedback from that so far. Thank you to everyone. And then obviously the community where you can learn and grow to become a better trader. You can interact with myself. We have roundtable discussions as well as amazing community to learn and grow. So check that out in your own time. Now, with Bitcoin, let's go ahead and talk about the obvious here. And this is really good stuff here. Because I was expecting it to be a while before we got back up to the 50-day simple moving average. Now, granted, we haven't closed yet above this. However, we are soon to potentially close above the 50-day simple moving average on the one-day chart. This is extremely huge. We haven't seen this in a long time, right? So again, previously when the price was up above the simple moving average, it pretty much worked its way all the way up. So it's a very good sign to tell us that we're probably on the right side of the tracks for now. Yes, you could say there was a correction here, of course, but that was a significant world event. Of course, El Salvador occurred and the prices continued to decrease. But generally speaking, when the price is up over the 50, you can generally see that the price will continue to progress upwards. Okay. That tells us some really good stuff here. So in other words, being over the 50-day SMA is huge and very helpful. Granted, I'd like to be up over the 200 as well, but we'll cover that later. And keep in mind, this one-day candlestick hasn't closed yet. So if we can get the candle to close somewhere in the 43,000 or higher range, we should be in good shape to consider that as a potential support. Again, the first time you test a simple moving average, it doesn't always happen. It doesn't always, work as a resistance or essentially a support. We need maybe a couple more days worth of trading, but it's a very good start, right? Also note too, right here about 42,300, a Fibonacci retracement level, that could be where the 50-day simple moving average will start to average out. Because again, it's still kind of swinging down, so to speak, and we could essentially see that be the price point. So good news is we should have a channel right now between 42.3 and 44,000. With the potential, of course, downside to 41. We saw that tested as a support level for 2 days in a row over the weekend. Now, granted, that was a weekend trading, not the best, not the best realization of how the market should be, because again, weekends are less volatile, but more volatile, less volume. Therefore, now with this being a traditional trading day, we can really see here that 41 to 44 is kind of the channel we're going to be working within. All right, so that's kind of where we're at for now. Let's look at some of the obvious stuff here. We're up over 50 on the RSI. That's nice. We closed above, obviously, with this 11% green day on Friday, and the price has been progressing ever since. Now we're getting closer to 70 on the RSI. 70 is typically a resistance level on the one day, but once you break above in a bullish momentous trend, which we could be very well seeing here, then it will effectively provide us with a strong support, and then 70 becomes a support level, and it continues to make higher highs from there. So that could very well happen. In other words, once we breach 44,000, if we can get past 46,000, which is likely 70 on the RSI, we're going to be in really good shape. That's always been the point in which I've wanted to get back above to feel comfortable and confident in the market again. Because again, we had 46,000 holding for a very long time, and then eventually we lost that, and it was kind of a doom and gloom for the last month or two. Back up over 46 would be a very big sign. 44 is a key resistance, of course. Again, it's more of a short-term resistance back from January 12th. However, if we go more of a long-term, sometime from December 4th through just say early January, roughly that 1 month of consolidation at 46, we can get back up above 46, we'll be in really good shape. Okay. And why don't we, just before we move on, take a quick look at the volume profile just for this little retracement level here. So ever since November, ever since the price has been falling down, we can see a large volume accumulation at about 47,000. Okay. Again, there's a gap right here between 44 and 46. We haven't really had any trading data there yet, right? So good news is, with us getting up above 44, if we can do that, it'll probably be pretty simple or pretty easy to get up to 46. But we'll probably likely have to build a foundation of volume in that range before we can break 46,000 too. Because you got to understand, strong volume accumulation implies strong resistance. So it's probably not going to be super easy to get up over 46. My guess is we'll test 46,000 a couple of times. We may even see an attempt like a U shape, essentially, like a handle shape, where it comes up, tests it, and then continues to try again. We could see something along those lines. Again, that's purely speculation based on previous data, but generally speaking here, you can see this gap, of course, from before. But if we zoom in, obviously, to this most recent time when the price dropped below 44,000, you can see the strongest amount of volume accumulation right below the price action at 41.5. That's extremely important. That tells us that 41,000 is likely the lowest bottom or lowest point we should experience, unless we see some type of crazy correction. Okay, so again, 41,500, 42,300, that's a very strong support level at this point. And I think the likelihood of it coming down below that is very low based on the amount of volume accumulation in the most recent time frame. Okay. Again, this is just the time frame based on when the price has been below 44,000. Okay. Or sorry, below 46,000. And if you look even further, when the price has been under 44, you can see, of course, the volume is still right there at about 41,800 instead. So again, 42,300, right in that range, that $700 range, $800, right in that range is a very good support. So I like what I'm seeing here so far. I think we can say 41.5 is probably the lowest point in which the price will correct if it were to correct itself. The likelihood of it correcting itself right now is fairly low, though, and the main reason why is simply because the fact that we have this strong continuation here after that upside. The fact that the price didn't correct itself after 11% increase in one trading day is a good testament to let us know that we're on the right side. Okay. Now keep in mind the market's doing well. Amazon had good reports, good earnings, of course, or whatever the report was specifically. It helped us shoot the price action higher. That was a big catalyst, and that's very helpful, right? Now that we've seen time and time again, Bitcoin doesn't care necessarily what the U.S. stock market does, but a lot of times when there's good stuff in the market, it'll do better, right? We just got to understand, generally speaking, right now, the market's doing well. If the market does correct itself, keep that in mind. Bitcoin could experience the same thing. All right. Again, just some food for thought there, but all in all, the macro looks very good. I don't see a reason why we'll see a major correction if we were to. 41.5 should be the essential bottom. Now let's talk about that here. This is 41.5 right here. You can see the price just going straight sideways. That was, again, once more, it was a weekend, okay? So the amount of volume was diminished, okay? So we got to respect the fact that, yes, there wasn't a lot of volume essentially, but two trading days worth of volume on a weekend is effectively the same thing as one trading day on a weekday. So we got a good, strong foundation support there. I think that likely, if you combine that with the volume profile on the most recent time frame, we're looking very good here. Now on the 4-hour chart as well, why don't we go ahead and take a look at this? We're up over both moving averages, and we have a potential for a golden cross working its way up here. Now again, it's a little less severe or significant, you could say, when you see a golden cross in the 4-hour versus a 1 day. It's a diminished return, so to speak, but generally speaking, it's still there, right? So you gotta acknowledge the fact that we've got some positive things going on here with the moving averages, and that's extremely important. The only thing I don't love is that the RSI is well over 70 on the 4-hour chart. I would like to see that calm down a little bit. So that said, I do think we could see a correction from Bitcoin down to about 42.3 to the next key level Fibonacci retracement level. If we do lose that support, 41.5 and 41,000 were the absolute lowest. That's been my speculation for a little while now. I do still think we're due for a correction based on the increase from Friday, CME gap, etc. A lot of things are going to happen here soon. We could see, that get filled, right? And if we shoot at 46,000, we can definitely expect some resistance and a correction. But for now, again, it's consolidating nicely. We have a decent amount of volume there. I don't think 41.5 is going to be, or anything lower than 41.5 will be realistic. We might see a wick down to 41,000, but that would probably be the worst case. Again, looking very good here for Bitcoin on the midterm. I just don't love this RSI here, and it makes sense the price would essentially calm down. So in other words, for the RSI to slowly kind of come back down, the price doesn't necessarily have to come down with it. It just needs to consolidate this resistance, right? So we can literally see the same thing from Bitcoin here before the next leg up, if we will, right? So that's generally what you're looking for, okay? So again, nice little pattern there, and ultimately looking very good here. But once again, a little bit on the extended side on the RSI. Let's go ahead and check a couple of things really quick here. Now on the 4-hour chart, before we move on, I do want to kind of look at TD sequential and see where we're at, because we have had 8 4-hour candlesticks worth of bullish momentum, right? So when we see something like that, we really need to understand that the likelihood of a turnaround is either higher and or the correction is higher, right? And here's why I feel like we're going to see one of two things. If you see from before here, we got a 1 all the way up to a 9, and then it consolidated for 2 days straight, okay? If we see the same behavior here, we got a 1 all the way up to an 8, what do you think is going to happen when we hit the 9? We either consolidate at resistance at 44,000, or it corrects itself to the next major key level Fibonacci retracement level at 42.3. Okay, that is essentially what could happen next. So one of two scenarios, 42.3 or 44,000, and then a break to the upside. I'd feel much better about the price coming down to 42,300 because of the fact that it would be a necessary correction to allow for more volume at that price point and to increase the price from there. That's a good healthy staircase pattern. So, again, this is still okay if it keeps coming up like this, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but it would actually add more power to the next push if we were to come down a little bit further. Okay. So again, one of two scenarios will occur there. Take a look at the 1 hour. Let's just quickly peek at TD sequential. We're at about 6. So we could very well see a turnaround here soon in the next 3 hours. So just bear in mind when you hit a 9 on TD sequential, the likelihood of it coming back down is higher, right? Now it doesn't necessarily have to come all the way down, but it could just essentially correct itself a little and come up. But I do feel like we're going to see the price kind of trade within the channel of 42,300 and 44,000 in the near future, based on that sentiment alone. All right, let's also look at one last thing here, and this is probably going to be the same thing as we see in other charts as well. The Ichimoku cloud is telling us we don't need to worry about closing our position because obviously this most recent increase is continuing upwards. We have good progression. The lagging span is free of any price action, and obviously the same with the other indications here as well. So ultimately, Bitcoin's looking very good here in that sense, right? We do not need to necessarily close our position for quite some time. And again, take this with a grain of salt when I say close your position. You don't have to close your position because this is available. If you use this as a trading tool, then of course you might want to respect that depending on your position that you took. It's just basically telling us that we want to keep our position open for the next 12 to 24 hours, and that if the price were to come back down and the lagging span intersects with the price action, then you might want to consider taking your profits. Now again, that's not necessarily the foolproof plan, right? Ichimoku Cloud's a very conservative indicator, and it helps us understand if we're on the right side of the tracks. And that's the great thing about this. We are on the right side of the tracks. We're above the cloud, and we're above all these other indicators that are telling us to keep our position open. So all good stuff there, really. There's no reason to want to go ahead and exit your position. Just know that we are extended, a little bit overextended on the midterm with Bitcoin, of course, having that significant increase, and we're at about an 8 out of 9 on TD sequential, and we're also at a 6 here as well. So my speculation is in about 4 more hours or less, we'll see the price either retrace to come back down to test 42.3, or to stay right where it's at, consolidate effectively right at about 43.9, just below 44,000, and then essentially break through that resistance here in the next 12 to 24 hours. Right. So I do think 46,000 is inevitable. Just bear in mind, we need to be cautious and careful in the sense that Bitcoin will come, I wouldn't say it's going to fall down, but it's going to correct itself soon. We can't just keep going up without any correction. Yes, we had a slight correction here, but that wasn't enough. And I think that it would be necessary for the price to come back down to 42.3 and then leg up from there. I think that'd be much better than the price consolidating at 44 and doing some crazy stuff from there. Okay. Again, we'll bridge that gap when we get there, but all good things here for Bitcoin. There's really nothing here that I see as disadvantageous, minus the fact that we're almost overextended here on both time frames, and that could lead to a potential turnaround in the near future. So just be mindful of that with your altcoins. Those could essentially retrace as well based on that sentiment, because as soon as Bitcoin corrects, altcoins correct themselves too. Right? We got to be aware of that. We got to be mindful, and I just hope that this could bring that to your attention. So thanks again so much for joining me here. If you're not currently a community member, consider joining, of course. I have a link in the description below. CryptoCache.tech is the website. The website's up and running. It's not fully built yet, but it does allow for you to have access to the membership section. And what's there, of course, is my Trading Academy, where I essentially just teach you how to become a better trader from start to finish. You got to learn the basics before you can learn the advanced trading techniques. A lot of stuff I cover here is advanced. It's not the basic stuff you need to know. So please understand that there's a lot more to be learned, more psychologically, and how to be a trader versus just the charts you see here today. Okay? Please understand that. But again, learn as much as you can, obviously, from whatever content I have. That's the purpose, and I certainly hope that you had learned something here today. Thank you so much for your time. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great one. Take care.